Hello.
Aloha.
How's everybody doing? You have Mahi and Kenny today. Let's see. As usual, we're just getting started. We're waiting for everyone to kind of fill in. As you show up, please let us know if you guys have any questions that you would like us to talk about. But for now, we're going to hit some preloaded questions that we have from other Core Team Hawaii Ohana from the week prior. We'll also at some point bring in our lender partner Jody Tonga from Pacific Rim Mortgage to come talk over and help us with a couple of those questions. So queue up your lender questions if you guys have them. Price points, financing, leveraging a loan. What do I need to qualify for a loan in Hawaii? What does my budget need to be to get me a single family? If you have those types of questions, questions that you want to ask a lender specifically, and maybe you're a little bit further out, you're not ready to like actually start pulling credit, you're not actually ready to start talking to anybody, this is a great opportunity. Just pop in, ask your questions, let Jody kind of help you out today.
All right.
Okay.
We ready to get into some of the questions right away?
Let's check out some of the questions we got.
All right. This one comes from Christine.
What's up, Christine?
Curious if Derek thinks that there would ever be a market crash or a turn down in Hawaii. I don't think that there's any such thing as a stupid question, but if I'm reading it from Christine, thank you for a little bit of humility. I know, stupid question. No, Arizona and Florida are seeing some price dropping. Would that ever be possible in beautiful Hawaii? If not, why? If possible, why? That's the question.
Okay. So, market crash, 2008 market crash? I don't think so. And I know the question was directed at Derek, but he's away with family right now, so we'll just talk story. There's a little bit of difference in kind of like just the climate of purchasing a home now versus the last time we had that like big crash in our lifetime. And a big part of it is tighter lending, right?
Yes.
So we're not just
regulation.
So we're not just like, hey, I'm a bartender and I make $100K.
Right.
And trust me, because I'm honest, and okay,
jumbo loan.
Here's a loan.
Restrictions,
sir,
yeah.
So we don't have as much of that kind of like loose lending going on. We don't have that going on. I won't say as much. We do not have that going on.
You cannot.
Yes.
They cannot. Lenders cannot. Banks cannot. Mortgage brokers cannot.
And another aspect is we're also coming off of like a big COVID bubble. And during that COVID bubble time, a lot of buyers, just the nature of the market made it such that you had to pour in a lot of, money to get in. So your cash usually was a lot. People are paying above appraised value. They're committing X amount over the appraised value, which Kenny did, right? He bought during that time.
Yeah.
So we have money tied into our homes. So we're trying our best to stay in them, and we're not, willy-nilly defaulting and letting it go.
And
in
we
addition
married
to that,
the rate,
yes,
not
right.
the home. Contrary to the one-liner that we hate.
Yeah, back then, though,
I'm married to my rate.
If the rate was 2 something, I was marrying that. I was putting a ring on that rate too.
Right.
You know what I mean? I wish I did.
We
But
are definitely that.
The other thing is people in those circumstances during that, if you already owned a home during that time, your appreciation went up like a ton, or your inflation, whatever you want to call it, whatever it is, the value of your property went up a lot in that frame. So we've got a ton of equity in homes right now for people who owned property before that. So crash as far as like everybody is running to foreclose, everybody's in default, I don't think so. A normal downward trend, yeah, for sure.
I think so.
We're experiencing that right now, I would say.
And month over month numbers here specifically to Hawaii would say that we're pretty balanced on single family, a little bit of a decrease in condos and townhomes. You're speaking to most of the national stuff. I think that, COVID hit everybody, not just Hawaii. Interest rates during that time, appreciation during that time. Those are all, I think, can be true across the board. Here in Hawaii, maybe my opinion towards the specific question of why here or why not here, and compared to Arizona, Florida, to be specific, I would just say there aren't as many homes available. The inventory is tighter and the demand is higher.
We are
here in
always going to
Hawaii.
be a low supply, high demand market.
We have an investor's market. We have a destination location. We have a very limited rock geographic restriction to what can be developed and how many homes can be built and or sold and bought. So those things I think are probably leaning, not to speak on Derek's behalf, but I think he would most likely agree that there's no crash coming here. Some slight corrections are inevitable, and I think that that's starting to happen a little bit now. But I don't think there's going to be anything significant.
Yeah. Even when we do experience our corrections to the market, because let's be honest, we had a wild market and we're coming off of that's not normal, that, everything that was going on during COVID. So even during kind of our correction period, just historically speaking, Hawaii is one of those states and those markets where if you have the ability to hold, it's a market that tends to balance itself out a little bit quicker. Maybe we get hit, we don't get hit as hard, and we tend to bounce back quicker than others, because at the end of the day, we're a finite amount of land. The land is worth more than the improvements here. This is it. We're not gonna have any room to expand. This ain't Texas.
Nope.
We can't.
It's kind of the
fighting the
opposite
urge
of that
to sing a Beyonce song right now, but we have a limited amount of land, and Hawaii is freaking Hawaii. It's never going out of style. It's beautiful. Everybody wants to be here.
It is.
So,
great question though, and I appreciate it.
I can't pull up the live on my phone. I can't.
I can't either. So
Watch, we're not even live.
I know. Are we talking? No. All right. Kinge,
I can't pull it up. Watch us not even be live right now.
Keep
going.
Kinge, I'm going to assume there's
a
people listening.
possibility that we just talking to ourselves right now, because I'm trying to find where the live is on our channel so I can address questions.
I assumed that
But whatever. We'll just keep talking about the questions that we have.
Second question comes from Eric.
Hi, Eric.
For us, big one is, so this one, I'm going to paraphrase Eric's because it's very transparent and we appreciate that. And I just got the live
did you?
bubble. So
we're live now?
I think we're live now. Start over.
We're
starting over.
Are we kidding right now?
Are we really live now?
Are we starting over? Did we just go live? Okay.
We did just
What's
go live.
up, guys? You
Hi,
are
everybody.
just joining us. Kenny and I have been talking to ourselves for about 20 minutes now.
Maybe 5, but it feels like 20.
No, we've been talking to ourselves for 5 hours now. And Kenji just told us we actually are now live, but we have not been live this whole time. So what's up?
There we go. Okay.
We're warmed up. We're ready to go.
Now we can address some questions.
Oh my God.
We are going to do what feels for us weird, so hopefully it doesn't come out for you guys, but we're going to rewind by about 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So we always want to start off our live with some questions, either from last week's live or questions that have been loaded up throughout the week.
And as we're addressing stuff from before, feel free, hop in the comment sections. Let us know what questions you might have, specifically if they're lender related, because we will have Miss Jody Tonga from Pacific Rim Mortgage joining us today. So if you have any questions and you're like, not ready to call them, I'm not, I'm too far out. I'm rebuilding my credit. I don't really know. If you're too ashamed to start talking with them right now, but have some questions. One, don't be ashamed. You should always just talk to them, because they're a wonderful resource to help you get prepared
100%.
for purchasing. But if you're a shy guy, go ahead and just leave us comments and let us know what questions you would have for the lender.
We are happy to do that for you at whatever level you're comfortable with. And I would just say that it's never too early to plan that part of it out. The more time you spend, the more info you get from them, the better off you're going to be down the line.
100%. Yeah.
Do we want to do testimonials first real quick before we jump into questions?
Oh, he said we can hear you now. Does that mean we were just talking on mute that whole time? Anthony, tell me, were we just here muted that whole time? Oh my gosh, so embarrassing.
Oh boy.
Okay.
So let's see where we can get.
Eric said, "Hey gang, you're live."
All right.
What's up, Eric?
Thank you guys for making sure we know you can hear.
Okay, so shall we hit some testimonials first, or shall we get to some questions from last week first. What? Okay. Let's bang them out.
Are you bringing them up, or do you need me to?
Do we have them?
I don't know. That
my God.
I don't know that I have them.
We're going to hit the questions first.
We'll get testimonials for sure. So questions. First one is from Christine. This is our rewind. This was directed at Derek. Derek is off island
Derek's
with
off
family
island right now.
And just want to know that as a team, we're going to answer that for you from our perspective. Basically, Christine is asking if she thinks there might be a market crash impending and wants our opinion as to whether what our thoughts are on that. We're comparing that to Arizona and Florida, where she's seeing price drops. Would it be possible in beautiful Hawaii that would ever happen? If not, why? And if possible, why?
Okay.
Here we go.
So we'll talk about that again. So crash. When we are talking about crash, I'm assuming we mean like a catastrophic, like 2008 era, like bad, like wild, and not just like a course correction and maybe prices mellowing out or dropping a little bit. We mean crash. So if we're talking crash, I just don't see it. I just don't see it for numerous reasons. I'll address some of it, and then Kenny will hit some of it too. But from my perspective, I want to talk about a couple of things, like one being the COVID bubble that we just experienced and the level of like inflation and appreciation, truly inflation, that happened during that time, and the amount of just like value and like equity we have in our homes now. So anybody who owned a home then, now we've got more equity in our home, right? So if I've got a bunch of equity in my home and I'm having a hard time, I'm making it work.
Yes.
I am making it work. And similar to that, in the era of like, oh, we're going to make this work, honey, because we bought during COVID and we paid 40 grand over appraised value, which is what it took to...
Or more.
Kenny can attest. He had an appraisal clause attached to his home, meaning when we're in competition, we're not really seeing too much of this now. Depends. There are markets where we can be in competition and it may be appropriate. But on a general kind of just rule of thumb of like widespread across the market, what we saw before, we're not seeing now. That being before, if we didn't have strong cash, if we were not able to pay above the appraised value, because generally speaking, homes were selling for above the appraised value, and we just knew the appraisal was going to come low because people were offering more for houses. If you didn't have extra cash to bring to the table, then you weren't winning the house typically, and so people just have poured a lot of money.
Indeed.
Into
we
their
had to
homes.
do both. We had to be strong with cash and waive our appraisal clause. So then we just basically
prayed.
Please let it appraise. And it ended up appraising at value.
Okay,
and
cool.
at that time, that was a big plus because of the inflated listing price, because people knew, sellers then knew they could get away with it. Here's a 2.5% or a 3% rate or something like that. And so we can sell the house for more, even though it may or may not traditionally or realistically be worth that. We know what a buyer will pay. And so victim, but also now I'm benefiting from that, and I don't want to sell my house. I am married to the rate.
Yes.
To go contradicting to the one-liner of date the rate.
Well, he bought when the rate was low.
I married the rate. And I'm staying married.
Yeah. You got a good wifey on that rate. Like
exactly. Love that.
Okay, so point being, crash as far as the amount of money people have poured into their homes now, I just don't see it. Additionally, just we don't have loose lending like we did back when the other crash happened, right? And it's just you could verbally give your income back in the day.
Yeah, no,
and that would be
none
fine.
Of that happening. All the regulations there, I think, are obviously in place for an institutional blocking of a potential crash. Inventory, we're repeating ourselves. You're hearing it for the first time. Inventory on the island is what it is. We live on a rock. Can't build in the water. And so are there new homes being built? Yes. We're going to talk a little bit about some closings and some stuff coming up shortly where new construction is happening, but it's not enough building and not enough inventory to handle the demand for a destination location. So that's the one specific thing on top of the other things that are more general, more national. Rates were rates during COVID. Prices were prices during COVID. Cash above and beyond was a part of COVID pretty much anywhere you were, right?
Yeah.
So setting aside why Hawaii, why not, we would generally say why not, because inventory is different here. Demand is different here. It's much higher and much lower, respectfully. So
yeah, and a real estate investment in Hawaii is truly one of those things where if you've got the ability to have the staying power, you hold on to that property long enough, and you really just you almost can't lose. You know, I mean, of course there are certain circumstances. You let that thing dilapidate and get down to whatever, then sure you can lose an investment in real estate. But if you know you're purchasing a home, you're upkeeping it, it's on an island where you cannot expand anymore because this is how big the island is. The land is always worth more than the improvements here.
Correct.
If you have the time to let it do its thing, we are a slow rolling appreciation over time state, and you let that kind of investment just build that equity. We're not like typically a cash flow state, meaning you can't just like buy a house here and be able to rent it out in cash flow. That's not really a thing here. We have, you know, an appreciation market. Yeah. So yeah,
the appreciation is good enough, slow rolling, but also better to a point and consistent to a point where that net monthly loss of here's my mortgage, here's my rent collection, and my appreciation exceeds that. That's,
if you're
those
like,
are games that we
make it make
strategize
sense.
on. Yeah.
You know, Hawaii is one of those states where you're like, oh, we're going to make it make sense because we're going to hold on to that for a long time and make it make sense. So,
for sure.
Yeah.
So Christine, great question. Thank you.
Yes, thanks, Christine. Also, hi.
We don't expect for there to be anything more than kind of the corrections we're seeing month over month right now.
Yeah.
The next question is, I'm going to skip Eric's question actually, because I think we're going to bring Jody in to help a little bit with your question, because some of it has to do with lending. Part of your question is, are there any opportunities to purchase unused warehouse and convert it into rentals, apartments? And what should we do, or what should we expect to have to do to get onto Oahu? Been assuming we'd be renting something tiny initially, then trying to find something more permanent afterwards. I think that's a case-by-case thing.
What do we have to do? It depends what your snapshot looks like.
I think the first question and kind of your plan around being a stronger borrower is probably where that answer comes out. We have plenty of clients that for two reasons. I think one, either that financial plan is such where the timing is better for them to rent for the first 6 months to a year and then buy for savings for credit corrections, things like that, and then look to get into buying after year one. Some people are just sort of averse to buying the thing they haven't seen yet. We do have a very strong virtual backing, and we have a lot of clientele that trust us with that, and we appreciate it. But there are still some people that say, nah, I want to feel the vibe of the neighborhood first, so let me rent for a little bit and then get back to you. So,
yeah, and that's always fine. But if the question is, which I know is not your question, Eric, but if the question is, oh, maybe I'll just rent for a little while. If you're in position to buy and you're ready to buy, and there are homes that you would be happy to purchase, you should purchase. We won't get into it. I'm sure you can watch like 10 other videos where Derek has talked about it, but you can't outsave.
Right.
You can't outsave it. But anyway, I digress.
Running down the riverbank versus
blah blah blah. Running down the river analogy. Like, well, you guys know
time in the market rather than timing the market.
You guys know it. You already know it.
Just making sure. So next question, and Eric, we're going to circle back around, but bring Jody in to be specific about your question.
Oh, Dr. Darrell.
Dr. Darrell, here are a few topics. Yeah, we can get on to that. Let's do
living in Diamond Head.
Yep.
Can you read the question?
Yep. Living in Diamond Head, neighborhoods from condo to houses, local flavor, access to Diamond Head, beach and any parks, ease to Waikiki, local shops. How high is too high to pay HOA dues, HOA red flags? Please show any live work zoned options, Honolulu, Waikiki, different types of properties in Kapa'a.
No.
Do you know of buildings in the Honolulu, Waikiki, Diamond Head area that are permitted for live work?
I'm only thinking of Executive Center right now for that. But anyway, we can hit most of those questions. Diamond Head. So living in Diamond Head, what's the vibe like? Is there local flavor? It's super mixed because there are certain pockets that are just like, oh, nah, like, you know, some old local standards there, but you are very close proximity wise to Waikiki, right? So of course, you know, there's a lot of tourists, there's a lot of transient energy. If we're talking like condos that are like in Diamond Head, the thing that pops to my mind immediately is Pule Circle. Watch which video is it? Honolulu Ugly Truths, I believe, was the one where we walked around in Pule Circle and you could hear like the monkeys from the zoo in the background. So that's a big condo market, and it's like, you know, right there at the base of Diamond Head. Pretty much every building is named Diamond Head something, Diamond Head View, Diamond Head Vista, whatever it is. So that's like when I think condos in Diamond Head, that's what I think of. It's older. It's not a brand new community. They're kind of like boutique-y. So it's not condo buildings like Waikiki. It's condos like low rises, maybe walk up. I don't know if there are elevators there, but it's like mostly older walk-up buildings, smaller, less units, nice units though, big. A lot of them are, I've seen a lot of pets there, so I want to say they're pet friendly too. But price point, yeah. I mean, I don't really check with check with your HOA always, but I feel like I've seen dogs there. Yeah, actually, you know, I remember talking to this guy and I was like, oh, that dog looks kind of tall for whatever building we were at, you know, and he was like, oh, not when he walks like this, you know, like, so
gave HOA the puppy picture.
Yeah. But you know, so that's very close. It's, you know, right behind Kapiolani Park, so you can like walk around. It's right by Waikiki Elementary. You can get right in there. I would say you could easily walk or bike to the beach from there. Walking maybe, because you got to kind of go through the neighborhood. You can't just cut directly across. I would say maybe like 15-ish minutes to get to the beach from there. If we wanted like a Diamond Head condo, you're also pretty close to Kapahulu Ave. So you're walking distance to, you know, dining, shopping, groceries. I mean, Kapahulu Ave pretty much has everything. Yeah. They really do at this point have pretty much anything you need. And I like Pule Circle because it's like all the way at the south end of Waikiki, away from kind of like all the resorts and stuff. Yeah. So you are close enough to be able to enjoy those things when you want to, but you're not like in it. You know, you don't have people drumming outside. You're not on Kuhio Ave, you know, like if you're in Waikiki and you're like, you know, I want to be in the action, then go, there's condos right there on the Alawai, or, you know, on Kuhio Ave, where you can be right there. You can be right in the heart of it, but this is not that. So it's just a little bit separate. And if we're talking like single family homes, Diamond Head, you could be like lower Kaimuki, or you could be upper Wilhelmina, you know, it depends on price point. It depends on how much like land are we okay with? Do we want to be more near Kapahulu, where everything's kind of on top of each other? But keep in mind, like single family homes in this area, unless, you know, they're kind of run down or they're like a small CPR or something special, it is more expensive because you are closer to town. And it's just one of the patterns that we have here is the closer you are to the ocean, or the better your commute, or the better your school zone, or the closer you are to downtown Honolulu, where primarily a lot of people go to work, commute for work, we can see an increase in price point there. So absolutely keep those things in mind. Yeah.
HOA red flags, and how high is too high to pay on HOA? That's a big question.
Well, HOA, how high is too high? That's truly up to you.
100%.
It's like, you could have somebody who says 500 is it, that's it. And they're like, okay, cool. Or you could have somebody who's like, you know what? If the thing has a pool and the thing has a gym and the thing has a dog park, then I'm fine paying 1,500.
Bowling alley, theater,
bowling alley,
karaoke.
Whatever. Oh yeah. You know, it truly depends on you and where your budget is. Are we lending? Are we cash? You know, is it like, if it's all cash, but we need to be at a certain budget, then that's that. It truly depends on your budget. And it also depends on what you qualify for lending, because the price of the HOA will affect your lendability. The higher the HOA, the less purchasing power you have. And then the higher you're purchasing, or I'm sorry, whatever the converse is of what I just said, because I already relinquished it and forgot what I said. But basically, if your HOA is high, that can affect
albeit separate and not a part of lending. You're not borrowing money to pay your HOA.
You're paying that on your own.
Your lender is going to underwrite it as a part of the immediate debt to income ratio and account for it in your buying power and your borrowing power.
So it depends on your purchasing power, and really, even if you could afford to pay a $1,500, do you want to? It's such a subjective question. So how high is too high? It just depends who you.
The way I'd like to think about it and convey it in the best way is, if it's $1,500, are you okay in this condo and having $200,000-ish less of buying power? Or do we consider something else with an HOA that's down in the hundreds that we could then increase size, condition, location in lieu of that higher HOA, right? So it's really the amenity package and the location and the unit itself to say, I'm okay with it because I get to do X and I don't have to leave the building or the complex. Red flags for
HOA red flags. I think the big one right now is it lendable, and is it 100% replacement insured?
Right.
I think that would probably be the biggest one, and we can I'm seeing some comments here too. So Meg, I've been planning to buy a condo. I keep hearing a lot of gloom and doom stories about state of condo market in Hawaii right now. So we can kind of key into that question here as well. Sure. So I think a lot of the gloom and doom that you're talking about, Meg, is people being apprehensive due to are we able to lend on that? And a lot of that is coming from the insurance issues. This is kind of a nationwide thing that's happening. Are we still on? Okay, this is kind of a nationwide thing that's happening, but we're experiencing it for sure in Hawaii, and it's can be in part, or I'm sure largely in part of, or due to the Lahaina fires we had, so natural catastrophes happening globally, and for us, it has a lot to do with that. So, we're seeing buildings, or, buildings, maybe even homes being underinsured for what it would truly take to replace that coverage. And now needing to go to, if we're underinsured, go to secondary insurance market and pay for that higher rate to get us to full coverage for the replacement costs. And with that increased, just that higher premium that we're paying for second, third market, to cover, maybe our first insurance is not 100% and it's only covered up to 50 million. So the next 150 million, we need to get covered someplace else. Maybe it's from 50 million from them, 50 million from them, whatever. Point being that that's expensive. It can be. So we're experiencing possibly assessments. We're experiencing possibly HOA increases to make up for that, to make up for, or both, or we're experiencing, an uptick in HOA as well as an assessment to replenish our reserves, because we're using, our HOAs are possibly using some of the reserve funds to get that insurance premium. So
this is a conversation we're having
probably daily. Yeah, pretty
with
close
clients
to daily.
That are in that market to buy a condo. And I would say, be clear that it's affecting townhomes as well.
Yeah.
Not as much. Smaller community buildings or common structures, right? So if you think of it as a tangible thing that needs to be insured, like a car, it's not as large of an issue from a numbers perspective, but there are even newer construction places like Nahele are feeling that and seeing an increase in their both fees and or an assessment to pay for this highly ballooned master insurance policy over the building. Makakilo Gardens 3 is another one, just for an example to show that it's not just condo towers. It is carte blanche. And we don't really know the depth of it. We don't know how long it's going to last. We don't know what the control items are, but we are asking the right questions to the right people, whether that's lending, is it lendable? Insurance underwriters, not just lending underwriters. Are we fully covered? What's the deductible situation? Is it per unit or is it per incident? We have a set of questions. Kudos to Aiden.
Thank goodness for Aiden.
We want to have all the information you need to be in the best position possible to make a strong decision that's solvent for you. moving forward, and it is getting tougher. So the doom and gloom, I mean, is it full on?
I think it's rightful. It's justified to have some apprehension, but give us a call. Make sure that, whoever is helping you, and we would love for it to be us, whoever is helping you is keyed into kind of what's going on, because it is a fluid situation. We are changing. And just so you know, we are still closing on condos with our clients consistently. We just need to make sure that we're looking at the right ones and we're asking the right questions, and we are collaborating very well with our lender partner to make sure that, if there is something that is going to make it look shaky for us to either purchase or to resell later, if that is part of the plan, we're asking all those questions, and we're making sure that, you are walking into the situation with as much enlightenment as you can possibly have. So this is not us saying, don't purchase a condo. It's a bad time to purchase a condo. I'm not saying that. I'm saying we have to do more due diligence, and we have to be more scrutinizing now than we have been in the past, for sure. And it really matters who you work with. So make sure your partner is skilled, and we'd love to help you. So if you have more questions, call us and we can get on a consult. Go to coreteamhawaii.com, fill out the contact form, make sure you let us know if you have some, even if it's just we have preliminary questions, let us know. And then we'd love to help you.
Absolutely. We definitely would love to be the ones to help you. Anthony, hello. I'm catching up on some of the live questions and feedback.
Did we have any other questions on the?
We do.
But for Jody Kind?
Jody kind. I think we'll maybe try to bring Jody in now or in the next few minutes to answer Eric's questions.
Yeah, when she's
that
done.
are more about lending concerns and that plan and what we should be doing to prepare. But Anthony, really quickly, just addressing you, you have heartburn about a particular complex, and I will reach out to you and we'll have that discussion. I know where you're at, and so.
Do you know Anthony?
Yes, Anthony.
Okay.
Anthony is a current client that I'm working with to see about getting them into a spot. They're renting in Mililani now. There's things about Mililani that they want to change, and they actually like Avakapole better. So they're looking at.
Oh man, that's the tale as old as time. Give me a silver lining. It's hard. At the end of the day, we got to decide what we're going to prioritize. Are we prioritizing a nicer, newer, bigger thing, or are we prioritizing this specific school that we really like for our kids?
Right.
And that is an everyday question that a lot of people have, and that a lot of people are challenged with. And at the end of the day, we can't answer that question for you.
Yep.
You got to tell us what's the most important, and then we'll run with you in that direction. Yep. But it's a hard one, right? It's definitely a challenging one, and one that I myself am challenged with, where I'm like, shoot, I almost wanted to buy in Ko'ulu. I was like, oh, dang, I love these layouts. These houses are so cute. You know what? My kids go private school. It's not like I got to go in this school district.
Right.
But for me, it's commute. And, us. I mean, we're constantly commuting. I'm in town or Kailua or wherever every day, So I'm like.
Commute's a thing for them too.
Yeah.
And schools is a thing for them. They have great school kids. So
you got to.
Heartburn.
You got heartburn. I tell you what.
We will balance it out.
Yeah.
We will balance it out.
Whatever the correct balance of prioritization is for you, we got you.
Yeah. One more question, and then if we can try to queue up Jody to come over in the next couple minutes.
Yeah, when I think she's on a call right now.
This is a question from Rob. Request for the team would be to give the price range I need to zero in on for my BAH rate. Thank you for your service. You're looking to zero in on price point for about a $4,400 a month with utilities included.
I'm going to assume that if we're talking BAH, we're also talking zero down. Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably zero down.
Yeah.
Okay.
Likely it's an assumption. So, Rob, if you're on with us live, this is a question that was preloaded. Rob, if you're on with us live, let us know if you are specific to a zero down typical VA loan type of product. We'll assume that's the case.
And we'll have Jody elaborate a little bit more, see where that can get you today.
Yeah.
Let's see, Darren, if you're able to make a cash offer, is paying a high condo HOA worth it to not incur expensive repairs like a roof? Or is it better to put money aside every month for a single family home? Good question. So again, this truly is going to depend on what condo are we buying into. So the question used to be a little bit easier, I feel like, back in the day when we weren't worried as much about And also, like, what are we doing with the investment? Are we holding on to it for 10 years, or are we like maybe, sizing up to a single family home investment? We're selling it. We're going to 1031 it at some point and, do, 2 years from now, sell it. So I think before the consideration of like higher, increases in assessments or possible HOA increases, before that conversation, it was pretty simple to be like, okay, our budget is a condo or our budget is a single family. On a single family, we have CapEx, we have capital expenses,
Right.
where we're doing the roofs ourselves. We're doing that kind of stuff ourselves.
Right.
HOA, condo association, we have a partner. The condo association is doing all the exterior. They're taking care of all of that stuff. Now we need to make sure that that's still true. However, the condo building now, is it still going to be worth it to me if that, if I know that there's a possible assessment coming up?
Right.
Because you're different. You're a cash buyer, meaning you don't need to get lending on it. So whether or not the building is lendable doesn't really affect you now. But if your plan is to at some point sell that to 1031 exchange it or to just move on from it, your buyer pool, depending on how quickly, things change, is smaller, because if that building's not lendable, then it's going to be a cash buyer like yourself who would be able to get into it. And it's just, if the health of the building and the financial health of the building makes it such that the already high rate of the HOA may get higher, or, we know of some impending assessments or something like that, then maybe it's single family. If there isn't a building where it makes sense and the health is there and the exit strategies are addressed and taken care of and make sense, then it could be single family. I'm not saying that it's not single family. I'm just saying there's a little bit more scrutiny that needs to go into it now. So that's a good conversation to have. And if we knew a little bit more about like what your budget is, what your timeline is, then we could definitely help a little bit more in more detail. So go to the website. Please fill out the contact form. Actually, Darren, I know who you are, but let us know if that's something you want to like talk about a little bit more, as far as what should my budget look like and what my timeline and potential exits are for that. So thanks for the question, Darren.
Very good question. And there is a recent video where there's a kind of a chat with you and Derek about the breaking point between single family home and that low 800-ish range in EVA versus a condo or a really nice townhome, and what that
and that's another question
like.
too. Like, another question is like, is this truly like just an investment, or does it need to be a little bit of a lifestyle purchase because I retire in 5 years and I want to actually use it, so really, really kind of depends.
Yeah. In a single family home, you should be of a discipline and have a plan to be setting some money aside for those CapEx things, which starts to look like that HOA. And so there really is a deeper conversation and more context to be crystal on that conversation. So closings.
Okay, we'll have Jody come on we'll hit one more question, and then we're going to have Jody come help us with some of the lending questions we already had. I'll let Kenny answer this one because answer the one from Joseph, because you have personal experience with this.
So when moving to Hawaii, is it worth it to bring furniture with us or just buy out there? Not sure how much more expensive furniture is in Hawaii since everything is pretty much imported. So I do have some experience in this. I will tell you that we are lucky enough to have had the military move benefit of not paying for our stuff to come. That's one of the benefits of being a military family. When they say you have to move here, they will pick up your stuff and take it for you. I will tell you that I just moved my mom here, and it was cheaper to store her furniture here and bring the furniture that she had than to start over and buy other stuff.
Okay.
So I would lean towards team bring it rather than team buy it. But it's not necessarily about the price of the furniture here. I find that there are furniture stores you can go to that pricing isn't much more than where we came from, which is California. So it's really a perspective thing. Maybe there's furniture stores in the Midwest or down south that you could definitely buy furniture there and then ship it and store it. It is cheaper to store here than it is in California, and that's the perspective I'm coming from. Okay. When the decision, or not when, just another piece to the decision would be if you have any very personalized items or antiques, things that have been passed down, family heirlooms, things like that, you are not going to find that here. Like, I feel like there's, like, we can almost tell who staged the home, which staging company staged it, and then going into friends' homes, auntie and uncle.
You got that from Ashley?
Like, you know where it came from.
Yeah.
There's only so many different styles of sofa and dining table and bed frame and nightstand, right? So I think for two reasons, I'm team bring it. One, if there's anything personalized, for sure you're gonna have a very hard time replacing it here with something like it. You'll be able to stylize, design your home a little bit more your way by bringing your stuff. There's just not that much variety here on island. Pricing, not too bad. And then if you are shipping it and you're in limbo for a little while in temporary living, storage here is not that bad. I thought it was going to be higher, and it definitely wasn't. It was about 10 or 15% less than.
I would say that's because we have no space in our home, so we have such a competitive market for storage. There's so many storage facilities everywhere that it's just like, okay, maybe you can get. Actually, I just got a storage unit for my dad too, and I was like, oh, blown away by like how cheap it was for that space. They're always running incentives. Book it online. Often you can get a deal online a little bit better. And sometimes it's like, oh, first month for $10 or whatever, you know, so use it. But yeah, we just have no space here. So everybody, you know, everybody uses storage. But anyway, I know, Kenny, you got a dip, right?
I've got to get going.
Kenny's got a meeting at 1.
To meet with a client in the next 5 minutes or so. I'm keeping the seat warm for Jody, who is headed over
on her
now.
way.
Eric's question is the one we're kind of holding up to queue.
Yep. I got a couple more on here for her too.
Jody from Pacific Rim.
Thanks, Kenny.
Thank you.
Okie dokie. Hi, Jody. Hi. Okay. Sure. Yeah, I think we're fine without that. Yeah. Okay, so we have a couple questions that we saved for you.
Okay.
Here's one. They have a good paying job in the private sector, not military or government, but they're just coming out of bankruptcy. They've been working on getting their scores up to a reasonable range, but it's been tough. Paying their mortgage on the mainland. What would you advise? What should they do, or what should they expect to have to do to get here? They've been assuming they'd be renting initially and trying to find something permanent later.
Yeah, definitely. If they're still making their mortgage payment, then it's a minimum of 12 months on-time payment history.
Okay.
However, also it's the bankruptcy trustee has to give permission to acquire new debt.
Okay.
So it's open communication with the bankruptcy trustee if there is a bankruptcy trustee. I'm assuming there is, only because they're still making their mortgage payment. Because if not, then
that would have been wiped, right?
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
So, and then reestablishing credit. The best way to do that is going to be getting a secured credit card from any credit union, which is basically like, I'm going to deposit this amount of money so that you generate a trade line, what we call a trade line for me, and you're going to report this to all 3 bureaus, and then I'm going to use this card. So if you deposit $1,000, you're going to use it up to a $500 balance, no higher, and then you're going to use it every month, and then you're going to pay it off every month. So gas and groceries, or groceries are way more than that. Yeah. We all know that.
So,
but gas,
maybe not even gas, maybe like gum at the gas station or what.
So, but I would even do 2 of those each.
Okay.
And then the other recommendation would be, if you can, to ask a trusted friend and or sibling and or parent that has excellent credit to add you on as an authorized user which they absolutely can do. And there is so I had one buyer call me back and was like, oh, my mom's not going to do it because it's going to negatively impact her credit score. You know, and I was saying, no, it's not.
Yeah. Okay.
It's having no impact on her credit score whatsoever. And you don't even need to have access to the credit card.
Oh,
Yeah.
interesting.
She can say, mail it to my house and she can cut it up.
Yeah. Okay.
So now it's not like there really is no level of liability.
Yeah.
Other than a huge favor.
Other than I love you.
Yeah.
Here's this wonderful thing for you.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm doing a huge favor. I'm really.
Oh, I have a question. What if so you have no effect on them, but they definitely have an effect on you?
Oh, yeah.
So
if they max out the card, that's not great.
Yeah.
If they make a late payment, that's not great.
Yeah.
So it has to be someone that you know.
Yeah.
Right.
Is on there.
If they never use the card
Yeah.
and it's going to become an inactive account, that's not great.
Yeah.
So it actually has to be that perfect person that never maxes out their card, never makes a late payment, but utilizes it regularly and ideally has had it for like a decade.
Okay.
It doesn't have to be a decade. I mean, it could be 5 years.
But if we're looking for unicorns, let's make it a decade.
Yeah, a decade.
Okay.
I mean, it could be 2 years, even 2 years. It could be one. We're not getting crazy here, but you know, the longer, the longevity history helps.
That makes total sense. Okay. And then, you said a secured credit card from a credit union. Can it just be like a regular secured credit card from like a Capital One or whoever?
I don't know that they offer them.
I think they do.
Okay, then yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Any online bank.
Okay. All right. Now
but I wouldn't do Capital One.
And no more.
I wouldn't do Capital One. Capital One has been known to do some shady.
Interesting.
I don't know if I'm allowed to say that, but I've heard on numerous occasions misreporting. Like they'll be like, "No, we only have one," and I'm like, "Well, no, I see 3."
Yeah.
And they're like, "No, we only have one," right? And then also late payments, and then also annual fees that like they never got notified about the annual fee, and then it's a late payment. I've heard that from Capital One specifically.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So just do your due diligence.
Yeah.
Okay, Jody, you know Anthony. Kenny said that he's working with him already. Are you working with him already or not yet?
Yeah, we've talked to Anthony many times.
So Jody, seeing favorable inflation numbers. Okay, so this is a question that everybody can benefit from. If they're in contract already and the rate drops while they're in contract, can they go down to the lower rate before the escrow closes?
The short answer is yes, if you're working with us. Not all will be able to do that. But, you know, as a broker, the answer is yes. And that's the short answer. But the long answer is it depends on how much time you have left on your contract. And it depends on your communication and how it's going with the seller. Yeah. So if it's...
Would it be something the seller has to agree to?
It could.
Okay.
So it doesn't have to. So let's say as we get into contract, we always talk about float down, especially in this rate environment, because last week's unemployment rates were extremely positive. Now everyone is feeling like September overnight interest rate will be reduced, which is what we need for mortgage rates to come down. And then as Kenny and I talked about last week, once we have the confidence that it is going to happen in September, we're already seeing an improvement now.
Yeah.
That's just the way the market works. So, and that's the way the stock market works too, right? So everything is going to be favorable knowing that September is looking really good. And so what the conversation I have is, given your contract time, if it's 30 days, but then you also have F3, which gives you an extra 10, we're talking about 40 days. I'm going to tell you that you have until the 20th day, maybe 25th, in order to have your point of no return. Your point of no return is going to be if you need to close by your given rights, which is F3,
the unilateral right to extend, F3. Yeah.
And rates haven't dropped by then. And let's say they drop the following week.
Yeah.
We're past the point of no return.
Okay.
So you don't get that benefit, unfortunately, unless we work with the seller and say, hey, we were supposed to close on this day. We're just asking for an extra 10 days, 5 days, 7 days. It depends on everything, the file, the completeness, all that. And if the seller says yes, I don't know what that is, but it's coming from my computer.
Sounds like a gong is being rung at your station. What is that?
I don't know. Can you?
Where's that coming from?
Can you figure it out, 80?
If anybody can figure it out.
Thank you. Oh, Anna figured it out. Okay. And we've done that, right? Where you and Derek and Aiden and Kenny have communicated with the seller side, negotiated, gotten us the extra days that we needed. Then we got the benefit of the lower rate, and then we closed.
Yeah. But just keep in mind that a seller is never contractually obligated to be amenable to that. So if we've used the whole extension and we have once the extension is used, time is of the essence, meaning we have no ability to extend unless both parties agree.
Right.
Now, if buyer wants to buy and seller wants to sell, and the cooperation and collaboration has been dope and great and friendly and everything up until then, okay, feel pretty good about it. But like, say the seller is closing on their own purchase and they've already extended and they need that money, they need those funds, or else their purchase becomes in jeopardy. So there are certain things, it's a lot of moving parts, but end of the day is it truly depends. And if we're past the point of no return, there's never a guarantee on it,
Right.
but we will certainly try.
Right. And we've had sellers say no, and we've gone back to them and said, and when I say we, I mean them, gone back to them and said, well, what's it going to take? If we're just asking for 7 extra days, like, can we pay a financial amount? Like, what can we do? And then kind of we're all on, at the drawing board figuring out, like, what is it worth, right?
Right.
And then figuring out how to make it worth it for the seller.
Right.
And worth it for the buyer and make it happen. But have we had those ones where the seller said, absolutely not. If you do this, I will cancel on you. I do have a backup, and call my bluff. I dare you. Call my bluff.
Yeah.
Do it. Right?
Yeah.
And we've had that. So,
Yeah.
and then we've closed.
Yeah.
Right?
And then we're like, okay.
At that point, we really have to ask you, like, is it worth losing the property?
Right.
So.
Yeah. Good points. Okay, one more question. I purchased the home using VA loan. Will the lenders work with me on closing if I put money down? Like reserve a lot for 3 to 4 months so I can sell if I put $200K or more down. I'm not sure I understand the question. If I sell, okay. Whoop. Will lenders work with me on closing if I put money down? Do you mean I purchased a home using VA loan? Okay, so you have a home with your VA entitlement. Are you asking, I don't have entitlement, can I put a down payment? Or can I put a down payment and use what's left of my entitlement? If that's what you're asking, yes, sure. But I don't understand that second part. So I can sell if I put up $200K or more down.
I don't quite understand the question, but I feel like the answer is yes.
I think so. Yeah. If you're saying you are saving money, you have money you can get $200K, the answer is almost always yes. We can, like, a lender can help you with something,
Right.
whether that be VA because you have enough entitlement, or conventional, or you refi your VA if it's not on a low rate to a conventional and you use your VA. Yeah, I'm sure.
Right. The thing that is I'm not sure about is the word lot.
Basically, will they allow me to reserve a lot for 3 to 4 months with down payment so I can sell my current home for entitlement?
Oh, yeah. You just submit the offer with a contingency, and then you're openly saying, "Hey, I am fully qualified to buy this property. I just need to sell this other one first."
Yeah, so that's different from what you're asking, but that's usually the solution. If your entitlement is tied up somewhere and you need to sell that in order to get the purchase, then we would submit what's called a contingent offer, meaning my funds to close are contingent upon the sale of this house.
Right.
Or your approve, you being approved is contingent upon the sale of this house or whatever.
And you could even say, I have $200,000 to $300,000, but I do need to sell. But
That makes it stronger, a stronger contingent offer.
That's a stronger contingent offer.
So contingent offers are just inherently weaker because somebody whose funds to close are free and clear is obviously going to be more desirable to a seller. That it just is what it is. But there are certain things like this, like, hey, that guy who's not contingent has no money down. So if this home doesn't appraise or whatever, they're going to ask for plenty credits because they don't have the cash to cover anything.
Right.
So you having a cash down in addition to being contingent could strengthen, but I've also had sellers who are just like, my seller will absolutely not consider a contingent offer.
Right.
So
or talk to your lender because if you have $200,000 to $300,000 down, there's a high chance that you can actually buy what you're trying to buy
with the entitlement
before selling.
Yeah, right.
Because it's just a formula, which is the county limit minus your beginning purchase balance equals a certain amount. And then you compare whatever that number is to what you want to buy. So now what you want to buy minus X equals Y. And then you just need to cover 25% of Y. And then you can absolutely do another VA loan.
Yeah. Joseph, call us.
Yeah.
I know I was like, hey, if you guys don't want to call, just ask Jody today. But I feel like this question warrants a deeper conversation. And so Jody can definitely help you figure out where you actually are in your ability to purchase. Do you have to sell that house? Can you keep that house? How much would that house rent for if you kept it? You know, you win Monopoly by keeping all the houses. So if that's a possibility, let her work that through with you too. You know, reverse engineer that stuff. So Joseph Shen, calling you out. Call us so we can connect you with Jody. Okay. I think Mike Wallace. Aloha, Holly here. What's up, Holly? What's up, Holly, Mike? Thank you for being here. Big fan of your content. Would love to move out there one day. Felt at home being a hapa when I visit. Much aloha and blessings to you guys. Thank you. Okay. Well, does anybody have any other questions? Or is there anything else that you wanted to talk about rate-wise, lending-wise? Today?
I'll just give an update pertaining to interest rates and the market. I already kind of summed it up, but last week's unemployment data was positive, 3.1% at the highest unemployment rate since November of 2021. A huge leading indicator to a September overnight interest rate reduction. So since last week, Jerome Powell, Fed president, has come and spoken to Congress and done a whole bunch of other interviews. And, you know, the market puts a lot of weight on what he says. And he did, you know, say that he feels like September is going to finally be the month. And all economic data is supporting that. However, you know, between now and then, we're getting another set of core inflation data. And we need that inflation data to also be supportive of a rate reduction, which is that we need the inflation to be moving downward.
Yeah.
Closer to 2%. And as all of that continues to happen, the overnight rate will come down, and therefore everything else will come down, including the mortgage rate. We have already seen rate improvements between last week and today, a couple rate improvements. And so it's looking good. I would say I have a good example for our one file that's not in escrow, but I quoted them June 26th, and so they're doing a jumbo VA, but it was a 6.25 at about a quarter cost. And today, same jumbo VA, 6.25 at 0 points. So I'm not talking we went from a 6.25 to like a 5.75.
Yeah.
I'm talking we're lateral, same interest rate, but that same interest rate costs less.
Yeah. Okay. Still a 5.5 VA.
Where?
Right here, at the very bottom.
5.5 is doable, but not at 0 points.
Oh, there was one other guy. I think his question was just what, and we're going to just assume he's zero down, 4,400. What should he be targeting? And BH, so he's
7.
VA. Well, 7 unless, which makes it a condo. So really like 6. Yeah, because we have to account for your HOA. So probably like 6. If your HOA is like, if your HOA is like 600 or under. Yeah. Okay. So depends, but roughly there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. If we don't have any other questions, then we're going to wrap this up because we are busy ladies and we got a lot of stuff I got to talk to you about a couple other things. So we're going to sign off. Thank you guys for joining us. And if you missed it, leave us comments afterwards and we will get that and make sure we address those on the next live. Okay. Thank you guys.
Bye.
Bye.